This card right here is widely regarded as the most expensive and most sought after Blue Eyes White Dragon card in the world. Today, we're going to be taking a deep look at what makes this so expensive and how I actually went about capturing one for my own collection. Let's talk about it. Let's begin with what is Jump Festa. Jump Festa is an event sort of like San Diego Comic-Con where a lot of like-minded individuals show up and share their fandom about all these different pop culture franchises. It's also an opportunity for a lot of game companies, pop culture companies to show off what they have in store for the future years. Jump Festa, however, is strictly in the eastern side of the world, while we have things like Comic-Con as well as E3 in the western world. The event debuted in 1999. It was called Jump Festa 2000, and that's actually where this card was handed out. There was around 100,000 attendees at the time, and only 3,000 of them were able to win this card. Upon release, the card was given to players in a clear plastic sleeve inside of a white envelope. The white envelope has the YuGiOh OCG logo on it, as well as a not for sale sign at the bottom right. Most of the prize cards that were handed out during that time came in the same exact envelope. It's not really a prize card per se, because you're not really competing, if that makes sense. You're kind of just lottery winning it. Either way, it's still a limited number, and that's a huge aspect as to why it's so sought after and why it's so highly regarded in the Yu-Gi-Oh community. There are rarer cards out there. There's even rarer Blue Eyes in terms of population count. Things like the Asian English or the Chinese Blue Eyes, both of them have a population of 1,000, which is 3 times less than the Jump Festa. However, the Jump Festa outclasses them by a large margin. What is so special about this card that makes it so sought after? Well, number one, it is the only prismatic Blue Eyes up until a couple weeks ago. There was no Blue Eyes release that was in secret rare before this card, and there hasn't been one until 2022 for the 25th anniversary. This card also has the original layout of Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So unlike in the TCG where we had a completely different layout that we never saw in the real card game, in the OCG they had the exact same cards appearing on the screen, which is totally badass in my opinion. Because of these two aesthetic features that are on this card, it ranks a lot higher than anything else that is considered a prize card Blue Eyes. If we look at, for example, the other two Blue Eyes like the Asian English and the Chinese, they are both in foreign languages. Those will never be able to compete with the original. It's sort of similar to collecting like a German card or a French card. It's just not the same. You know what I mean? Like that English LOB Blue Eyes, the English DDS Blue Eyes, holds a certain level of prestige that's a lot higher than any other language. It's similar with this. Those other cards are also in ultra rare. There is an exact same copy but in Japanese called the starter box. I covered that in this video right here. The starter box Blue Eyes is not only the first copy ever of Blue Eyes in the OCG, it's also the exact same layout, it's just in Japanese. So what Jump Festa represents is the luxury version of the starter box Blue Eyes. The starter box is for every common player who wants to duel, and then you have the people who want to collect the highest of the high-end Blue Eyes. Those are the people that are gonna go after Jump Festa. But now that we've covered the origin, I think it's time to start on why this card holds so much value in the aftermarket. We're going to start this segment off by explaining the difference between acquisition rarity and condition rarity. Something like the DDS Blue Eyes or the LOB Blue Eyes are not inherently rare cards. They were mass released to the public. There are probably hundreds of thousands of copies released during the time. Acquisition rarity is simply a card that even before you get the condition rarity, it's just damn hard to get. Even upon release, there was not hundreds of thousands of copies released. There was only 3,000 and that was it. If you missed out on these original 3,000, you're gonna have to go to the aftermarket to acquire it. You cannot just go into a booster box and try to pull it again. You are not going to be able to go into a grandma's basement and find copies out there. Jump Festa from the get-go had a premium to it because of the scarcity. So understanding this, now comes what are the hurdles to actually acquiring a card like this. The first problem you're going to come across when it comes to acquisition rarity is the culture of the Japanese card game itself. See, in Japan, even card stores do not treat the cards as if it's just something to sell. They are collectors themselves. It's very similar to how Grandpa Moto treated his Blue Eyes White Dragon. Those guys don't want to let the cards go. You're going to have to pry it out of their hands, especially when they know that it is an extremely rare copy. This difficulty is increased tenfold when you're a foreigner, because these guys, the way that they're thinking about it is this. If I let this go to a Japanese person, there is a 99.9% chance that it will come back on the market in Japan, and I'll be able to have the opportunity to at least try to get it again. If I let this go to someone in the foreign world, that card is not coming back here. And that means I'm never going to be able to get it again. So they are very hesitant to sell to anybody outside of Japan. The second problem is it's not like one of those cards where there's so little of them that once it's sold, it's going to be gone for the next 3 to 4 years and you're not going to see it again. I would say that a near mint copy surfaces around every 6 months. You'd get one copy come up for sale. It actually has a consistent completed sales report. The growth is easy to track. It's not just whatever the seller wants, he's gonna get it. And because of this, a lot of investors are actually more intrigued by this one than things like, you know, a Pop 6 card or a World Championship card where there's only like 2 or 3 copies out there. This makes it extremely desirable, so when it does come up for sale, everybody crams the room and everybody wants to put a bid in. During these auctions, usually really played copies, like sometimes chewed by a dog, they go for around the $5,000 to $6,000 mark, and then mint copies can go all the way up to $40,000 depending on how mint it is. That's kind of absurd for a raw card when you think about it. That's just how hard it is to get one of these cards, and that's why the premium is so damn high. So other than the culture, as well as like how little it pops up for sale, you have the price issue, which is super expensive. And then you have the last problem, which is the actual transaction cost, like getting the money to the seller getting it to you is like a huge nightmare, especially for the Western world. I mean, how are you going to trust somebody with $30,000, $40,000 and then have them send the cards to you? I mean, it's very difficult. You need a very reputable seller, and the buyer has to be reputable as well. You know, the seller doesn't want to deal with a chargeback or, you know, any fraudulent activity. So this creates another barrier to entry. It makes it very difficult to actually buy anything from Japan that is of any substance or any value. This is where middleman services come in, where people offer services to buy the card on your behalf, ship it out to you, while you basically send them the money and pay them a little bit on top. So it does solve a problem with the transaction, but it creates a bigger problem in the price. This creates a huge hurdle for a lot of buyers, and this is why a lot of the Western collectors don't really want to deal with Japanese cards. But I am not like the regular collector. I need to have the highest end Blue Eyes White Dragon out there. So now it's time to get to how I actually got to acquire my own personal Festa Blue Eyes copy. It all started on March 13th, 2022, when my good friend and longtime business partner, Trade Natural, posted his copy up for sale. See, the first interesting thing is that nobody knew that Trade actually had this card. He picked it up secretly and silently, I think back in like August 2021, and he bought it raw from the original owner in 1999. It was still in the envelope and everything. So he bought the raw copy from him, and then he ended up grading it himself. The thing about his post ad though is that he was not actually looking for cash. He was looking for trades, and that's when my eyes lit up. When somebody's willing to trade down, by the way, let me explain what trading down is. Trading down is basically when you have a big ticket item and you trade it for a bunch of smaller items of equal value. It's very rare that this happens, especially with rare cards. The reason is because most people who can afford big ticket items, they don't really need to liquidate. Because they don't need to liquidate, they're not interested in smaller stuff. They're only interested in the bigger stuff. One of the few reasons people do trade down, and it's very rare, is they want to liquidate a little bit, but they don't want to liquidate the whole thing. So what do I mean by this? It means like you can't rip the card in half and get 50% of the value. But if you're able to trade it for a whole bunch of smaller stuff, sell half of them, you're going to be able to get half of the value for the card. You're not going to really need to liquidate in total and get the whole cash lump sum into your account. See, the problem with getting a huge amount of money into your account, it raises a lot of red flags, it raises a lot of alarms with the banks, etc. A lot of people try not to do this if there's no ability to transact via cash. So what they do is they trade down and then they liquidate slowly. That way they don't raise any alarms, as that's something that is normal for everyday people. Initially, I offered him LOB First Edition PSA 10 Blue Eyes, as well as DDS PSA 10. Obviously, that kind of defeats the purpose because I'm just trading him 2 big ticket items for 1 big ticket item, and he didn't really want that. He wanted accumulation of like 30 to 40 cards in the range of $500 to $2,000 each. So I started sending him pictures of everything in my PSA catalog as well as my sealed catalog. He didn't want any of it. He wanted Pokemon stuff, or at least the majority of it to be Pokemon. I don't have many Pokemon items. I mostly have Yu-Gi-Oh cards. So this created a big hurdle for me. I mean, I didn't know many people that collected both Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon. They're already super expensive individually, so it's very difficult to find somebody who has both. Except, I peeked slowly at my consignment pile that I have not listed up for sale yet, and I noticed there's a whole bunch of Pokemon cards. This consignment pile actually belonged to my good friend and brother from another mother, Zach in Florida. Shout out to you, man. Earlier in 2021, he wanted to consign a lot of his collection and consolidate it to a lot of big ticket items. So either he wanted to have cash and just buy the item, or he wanted to be able to trade them. In November 2021, he sent me around 400,000 worth of Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh cards, all in that same range that Trade Natural was looking for. He asked me to list them on his behalf, and I slowly started listing them on eBay one by one. I list 1 a day or 2 a day whenever I can. When he consigns things with me, if they sell on eBay, he's gonna have to pay a huge premium because eBay's gonna take 15% on top of the 5% I'm charging for the consignment fees. And I remembered that he was haggling me for one of my Blue Eyes White Dragons for the longest time because he didn't actually want to pay for it. It's very hard to pay $80,000 for a card just straight up hard cold cash, right? Like you always try to go at least partial trade or something like that. Well, now is his chance to be able to get my Blue Eyes White Dragon completely for a trade. And he was very enthusiastic about this. Number one, he's able to dodge all of those fees. He doesn't have to get cash into his account, pay tax on that as if it's income, and then buy another card with it. It would just get too much of a hassle. He would lose at least 30% right off the top. So what happened was I ended up trading him my LOB Blue Eyes at around $70,000 value. And in return, I would be able to offer the consignment lot to Trade Natural, and he would be able to choose $70,000 worth of cards. I gave him the list. He picked up some. I added some in like from my own pile of Yu-Gi-Oh cards because it just wasn't enough Pokemon to create the whole 70 grand. And I added a couple of more small stuff for me, like $1,000 or $2,000. And I ended up being able to close the deal with the consignment lot from Zach. I sent over a picture to Zach of what's being traded so that he can give me his thumbs up. He was totally okay with it because I got him pretty much maximum value for his card. The thing about dealing with really good businessmen like Trade Natural is he's not going to over evaluate his copy while he devalues my stuff. He knows that he's getting top dollar for his Festa PSA 9, so he offered me top dollar for my stuff as well, which is very fair for both me and him. I offered the same thing to Zach because I think at the time it was going for around $80,000, like a PSA 10 LOB First Edition Blue Eyes. So at $70,000, I felt like Zach was getting a good deal for hooking me up. and Trade Natural was getting his side of the deal completely fair as well. I also got to save on that DDS PSA 10 Blue Eyes because I didn't have to offer that up anymore. I was able to trade straight, which turned out really good because I saved myself around $10,000 with that DDS PSA 10 Blue Eyes. So I virtually shook hands with Trade Natural and Zach, and the deal was done. I shipped out Zach's Blue Eyes. I already had Zach's consignment on hand because he shipped them to me like 5 months ago. So I didn't really have to wait for him to send anything to me. Trade sent out his Blue Eyes. I sent out mine right after. And honestly, I was dealing with very good businessmen. I never had a doubt that Trade was going to ship out the Blue Eyes. I'm sure that Trade never had a doubt that I was going to ship out his stuff. I don't think Zach ever had a doubt with me shipping out his Blue Eyes because obviously he shipped out like $400,000, which is way more than anything that I had in my collection. And he was willing to trust me with that, which I truly appreciate. The second good thing about this trade was there was no cash transaction at all. It was completely off the books. It was as if we were on the playground when we were 13 years old, trading cards, trying to get what we want respectively. The only money we spent was the $100 that I spent to ship out the Blue Eyes to Zach, and then the $300 that I shipped out to Trade, and then Trade, I believe, paid like $200 or $300 to ship out the Festa to me. All in all, I was the Blue Eyes plus $400 out of pocket in order to get a $70,000 card. And the best part about this is I only paid $800 for that LOB Blue Eyes. I bought it back in like 2015 or 2016. Shout out to Bust Half Brian for selling me this. Back then it was like around $1,000 card. He gave me 20% off because we were off of eBay. I got it for $800 and I've kept it for around 6-7 years. I could not ask for a better deal to acquire a grail such as this into my collection. Thank you so much, Trade Natural. Thank you, Zach. I really couldn't have done this without the both of you.
Everyone, put your hands together, and I'll mark us with a special sign. It's a symbol of our friendship.
So that's the story of how I acquired the holy grail of all Blue Eyes White Dragons. But now I want to take some time off to thank you guys. Thank you to every single viewer of mine. Thank you to every subscriber, commentator, and liker of my videos. I really could not have gotten here without each and every single one of you. Thank you to everybody who uses the links down in the description. Thank you to everybody who shops at my eBay store. Honestly, thank you to everyone who has supported me. It truly means a lot. And I want to kind of give back to you guys by hosting a small giveaway. It's not too much, but I do think that it's kind of a good way to celebrate me acquiring this card and me hitting 10K. This giveaway is going to be for one of these Blue Eyes right here. These are the 25th anniversary Jump Festa replicas. I covered them in this video here. You can check it out if you want. All you have to do to enter this giveaway is, number one, be subscribed to my YouTube channel with notifications on, like this video, and comment down below what is your favorite Yu-Gi-Oh card of all time and from what set. I'll be announcing the winner of this giveaway on my Instagram, so make sure that you're following me on there in order to stay up to date with this contest. Again, thank you from the bottom of my heart to each and every single one of you. You can definitely look forward to more content coming soon, but for now, I'm signing out. That's my presentation on the Jump Festa Blue Eyes. I hope you enjoyed it and I hope you learned something. Peace.